Hello and welcome to the Unnamed Sports Show here on the Sports Talkline Network, where we talk sports 24/7, 365. I am your host, Joshua Griffith, and today on the show I will be speaking with Vancouver Whitecaps Football Club head coach Marc Dos Santos. So before I'm joined by Marc, make sure you hit the join button, like and subscribe to the video, comment in the bottom, make sure you hit the big blue join button. That'll give you lots of extra perks. Stay tuned for all of our great shows on Sports Talkline YouTube channel, and follow me on Twitter at Joshua Griffith0. So I'm going to talk to Marc today. We're going to kind of dissect the season, take a look back at the 2020 season that was, some of the highs, the lows, and look forward to some of the offseason decisions that are going to have to be made in regards to some of the players and offseason targets and things. So without further ado, we will cue up that interview with Marc. So I hope you enjoy. So I'm joined now on the Unnamed Sports Show by head coach of the Vancouver Whitecaps, Marc Dos Santos. Marc, thanks for joining me today. Are you back home with the family now, or still a bit of work to do with annoying requests like mine?
Yeah, no, I'm home with the family. There's a couple of days left to our quarantine. We end on Monday. So since the last game against the Galaxy, it just looks like such a long season, with all these quarantine periods. But yeah, I'm home right now.
Good. Everyone's staying safe and healthy then?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah,
Good to hear.
everybody. Thanks.
So it's just been about 2 weeks now since the season ended for the Whitecaps. You had a bit more time to look back and reflect on kind of what you thought of the year?
Yeah, of course. Of course, we did a lot of evaluation, a lot of meetings with the staff, and yesterday was hard. Yesterday was hard to watch the games because I felt that it was hard. It was hard to feel you're just 3 points away to being involved in that mix of teams that would be fighting for something. And even in the middle of the week, I was speaking with my staff and I told them, do you guys realize if we had 3 more points, we would have been in training right now and not in meetings? So you reflect back, you're disappointed it went for so close. But in moments like that, you have to evaluate very well the things that you feel you have to be better at and address them, not hide from them. And also look at so many things that were positive and how the group grow and the pattern of our play and how many young players were able to get their opportunities. So, you try to look at the very positive things without hiding from the things that have to be better.
So speaking of that, so what stood out for you the most positively? I mean, it could have been a player or a specific moment in the season.
Yeah, no, I think, that after we came back from Orlando, there was inside what we lived in Orlando, there was something positive. Because even if it was very hard, we managed to get out of the group. We managed to beat Chicago by 2 goals. That's what we needed. And then almost with a totally depleted roster, almost going through Sporting Kansas City and getting knocked out on penalty shots. Then when we came back from Orlando, I felt that, and I was consistent with that. We had 2 groups in our team. We had the group that didn't travel, the group that traveled. And even when we were preparing the training sessions, our training sessions, our documents had Group A and Group B, and that shouldn't happen in a team. So one group still in quarantine, still coming from Orlando, the other group training apart, and that took time to get back together. And our shock and huge reality to it is how disjointed and disconnected we were in our first trip to the East. And that was a nightmare for us in the sense that we really felt that how far the Group A was from Group B and getting everything back together. So what stood out for me is when we were able to get everybody together and work with them consistently, finding rhythm, finding consistency in a lineup, finding the way we wanted to play, being coherent with it. Well, what stood out is the growth inside that. The growth inside was obvious. We were able to get closer to what I wanted from the looks of what we want to be as a team. But unfortunately, I think the too many points lost in the East and the points lost in Orlando at MLS's back, that costed us there the 3 extra points we needed to get into the playoffs.
Marc, do you think the fact that you have such a young squad and your team was faced with so much adversity, I mean, you had to play a very tough schedule, 17 of the 23 games against playoff teams. Do you think it could kind of help and maybe shape things for next forward, as we might have an idea ahead of time what the team will have to do next season?
Hey, Josh, you know that we can't hide from the fact that of the 23 games, almost half, 11 games were against Portland, MLS's back champions, Seattle, MLS Cup champions, Toronto FC, MLS Cup finalists, and LAFC, Supporter Shield champions. So 11 of 23 games played against these teams. So already there, for you to get good results against them, you have to make sure that you have all your guys and at full force. Because if you start having too many guys out in those games, it's hard for a club like us right now. But at the same time, when I look at having a young team, I also look at the positives of a Michael Baldissimo that was able to step by step show what he could bring to the club. And it's going to be steps. We can't expect Michael now to go from everybody forgetting about him to now suddenly being the guy. Baldi is going to have to gradually grow and keep growing inside the club. Or a situation where in an emergency situation, and I repeat that, you guys were not, you were in, actually you were in our preseason.
I was in Portland as well.
Yeah, you were. So, but the majority of the people that were not in Portland or San Diego didn't get to see, for example, the 45 minutes that Thomas played against Columbus Crew that were very solid. Already there, he showed signs of a solid goalkeeper or somebody that could play a role. And then he needed a chance. And in a moment that was a total emergency moment where he stood up, and you look at the amount of young guys and moments like that add their opportunity. That's the positive. The downfall of that is that we're still a club, and even when we do our evaluation, that we're still looking for that personality inside our roster, that character, personality, experience, that in key moments, if you, and I hate saying that because I don't want to value too much our big opponents, but I think in soccer, it's important to state facts, and to say the truth. It's the only way you grow. But I'll give you an example. When you play against teams that have on the field, I'm not talking about their quality, I'm just talking about experience. Guys like Svensson, Stefan Fry, Nico Lodeiro, these are guys that have went through a lot of things, and their experience, when you mixed it with young guys, allow the young guys to grow even more and to be more solid in those moments. Or when you're playing and you have Blanco and Valeri at the same time, or Mabiala, these are guys that went through. Our team right now is not designed like that yet. I think with time, you're gonna have these guys that have that experience. And right now, I think the positive when you look at the young guys is that they got big opportunities. The downfall of that is we had to use way too many at the same time, and sometimes they were not surrounded all the way with the right experience, I would say. We need right now to find that balance.
I mean, people called me a bit of an optimist because I had such, high visions of the team. But again, I was down in San Diego and saw the squad getting to train fully and saw the results, and then moved to Portland and getting results again. And also too against Sporting Kansas City and against LA in the first two games.
Mhm.
Marc, you're kind of seeing what you were talking about at the end of the season with Fredy Montero and Lucas Cavallini, where they're providing that veteran leadership and that spark for the younger players like a Dahomey, like a Baldissimo. How is Fredy Montero kind of like a priority for you guys? I know his contract doesn't run out until December, but
Look, at the moment, we're in a negotiation phase with Fredy. So if we're in a negotiation phase with him, it's because there's a side of us that wants him to be back. So we wouldn't be negotiating with a player that we don't want to back.
yeah,
Now you know that there's always two parties in this. There's us as a club, and there's the player, and both to be satisfied with what's in front of them. At the same time, you touched it in the right way. That one of the reasons we're trying to negotiate and have Fredy back is for what he offered in that aspect that we were just talking about. In moments like that, the information to the younger players, the experience in key moments like that. But again, it has to be both parts that agree to it, and that's why I don't like to speak too much about a player when there's current negotiations, because I don't want to mislead anything. But to be very raw and direct with you, we're in a negotiation phase with him. Where this is gonna go, I don't know. Me in soccer or in sports, it's only done when the signature is on the paper. But that's something that we evaluate for sure. It is a type of experience that the team needs. So we're looking at that right now.
so I'm joined now by head coach Marc Dos Santos here on the Unnamed Sports Show. Marc, I spoke with Axel last week, and I mean, it seems like the needs are pretty clear. Milk, eggs, an 8 and a 10. A young left-footed winger there. But he also made it very certain like how difficult might be this year to land big targets into clubs with how uncertain the offseason and stuff and even the season is going to be. Is there like things that the club could maybe do, to kind of sweeten deals for players? I mean, I would almost say that they're already doing that in some sense with flying Dahomey's family over this season.
Look, we are. It's an obsession right now, the recruiting part. So you're talking to me about that. It has been our day since we arrived there from Portland. We arrived on Monday. I think Tuesday morning we had a day off, a morning off. And I remember on Tuesday afternoon, I promised myself not to make any call, not to be on the phone. And it started. And since then, it's an obsession for us to get the right targets. That's how I could what I could tell you, because we felt that the core and what we're doing is going in the right direction. Team is growing, and if we feel that if we land these four guys ish, I would say, being the right guys, the right value, guys that are gonna add up to the roster in a special way, we're gonna be even better. So I really think that right now, what you need to know, what fans need to know, it's an incredible obsession for us to land the right guys, and we're working very hard on that. You might read of a lot of rumors, you might read of a lot of names being thrown out there just because we're in a process of evaluating so many of them. But at the end of the day, the real ones are the guys that are going to be announced and signed. When Axel was talking about 8, 10, 11, I think, you could then talk is it an 8.5 box to box player? Is it a clear number 10? Is it a second forward? I'm just going to give an example in a position. Because that could slightly change depending on the quality of the player that is presented. And we're also open to that. If the player that is presented to us or the one we're scouting is by far the guy that is going to make our team better and change a lot of the dynamics of the team, well, so be it. I know that the Impact was looking for a number 10 back in the like in 2015, I think, and they end up signing Piatti, but Piatti played on the left just because Piatti was such a good player, and they felt they had to get him. So I don't like too much that we specify the exact position, because the market is going to dictate a little bit what is the best player possible for us at that time. Now, what I could tell you is we're very, very focused on offensive pieces, on wingers, on number 10 or second forward, on a link there. So we're focusing a lot of that, and we're focusing another position, but I don't want to talk too much about the exact position, because then some players that are playing in that position could seem that they're being targeted. But there's other spots we're looking at for sure.
And that's probably for the best, Marc, because I know that they all watch my show. So I got a couple of fan questions to ask you, if you don't mind.
Yeah, no problem at all.
Sure. So Joe wants to know, what are your thoughts on loaning some of the younger players to Canadian Premier League for more playing time?
Yeah, I think that we are incredibly open to that. I think we are very attentive now what's going to happen with the U23 situation. MLS is talking a lot about that. I would prefer to keep the players inside our club in a U23 structure where they're playing close to us, and we could have a better movement of up and downs of players. I would prefer a scenario like that. But in the case that they're not going to get minutes for us, or the projection is very little minutes, well, the CPL has shown in the first 2 years that it has more than the level of competitiveness necessary for young players to go in, play, and develop.
Awesome. So Derek wants to know, what two teams you think will meet in the MLS Cup, and what do those two teams have that the Whitecaps lack? Actually, depending on what teams it is, you could say a home.
Yeah, look, we played the 3 of our 23 games on the road. And 3 of our 23 games, home. And that last question just stuck to my head, saying that, yeah, apart from a home, because you know, when I see teams like Philadelphia Union or Sporting Kansas City playing home with some fans, not many, but some fans, it gives a sense of being home. It gives a sense of comfort, of motivation. That is something that we don't even know what it is for a year. And that gives a slight advantage. Do I think that Philly playing home all of their games, because they won the Supporter Shield, do they have an edge to go until the final? I think so. I think that they could be a team that could go all the way, but it's also a group that's going to face for the first time being in a playoff situation with the pressure on them. I still think teams like Seattle or Toronto FC, if they are fully healthy, because now with the international players coming back, you need to be bad in one game and you're out. But I would say the Philadelphia, if I could choose, my group of 4 would be Philadelphia Union, Sporting Kansas City, Toronto, and Seattle. That's my group of 4 that I think they could go until the end.
Perfect. Okay, and I'm really curious on this one, because I don't think if I know the answer or not. Max wants to know, Messi or Ronaldo?
Me, it's just because of my heart also.
Okay.
Me, I'm grown in a Portuguese family, grew in Portugal, 100% Ronaldo. But I could compare both players in the sense that I'd say that our generation is very lucky that we watched for 10 years these two guys being at such a high level. very different. One is the best because of his work rate. One is the best because he was the best when he was in England. He was the best when he was in Italy. He was the best when he was in Spain. He won a European title with Portugal. The other one is the best because of his talent. The other one is the best because of his vision. He's the best because he makes soccer look so easy. So they're very different, and we're so lucky to see two guys like that. And I don't see any. I look at these young players coming up and people getting excited about, but they last so little. They have 2-3 good years and then disappear and come back. The special thing with Messi and Ronaldo is the amount of years at the highest level. That is impressive. And that's why I don't think we'll never see again players like them.
Yeah, I know how excited I was for Renato Sanchez when after the Euros, and he just kind of fizzled out. And, I mean, like that's what you said.
Yeah, he's growing again.
Yeah.
He's been one of the best players in France right now. What I think about Renato Sanchez is, and sorry to go on, like
no.
on a Saturday morning, I love to speak about soccer.
Portugal is my team, so.
No, but Renato, I think Renato, that I'm also a big fan. He left Benfica too early, in my opinion. He was in a stage that the last 6 months of at Benfica, phenomenal. And then he had to go to Munich where the adaptation was just not there. And now I feel that he's getting back to a level of maturity, of growth, and of confidence. And I think in the next years, we'll see a very good Renato Sanchez.
Yeah, that'd be nice to see. So obviously you must be looking forward ahead to the World Cup, or sorry, to the Euros for 2020.
Yeah, a lot. But you know what, Josh, 2021 now, right?
No, Euros this year and then World Cup next year.
No. Yeah, Euro 2021, yeah. World Cup 2022.
Yeah.
So the Euro was supposed to be this year, but you know what? I one of the things that is quite marking is when I watch games right now, I really feel the need of the fans. I don't watch a Champions League game the same way I watched when fans meant so much in the game. I think that the Euro is going to be good because it's always a great tournament, but still imagining these competitions. The other day I was watching Real Madrid in Champions League against Shakhtar playing in their training facility. And when I watch this or think about Euro and still think about the lack of fans, the level of interest drops a little bit, unfortunately. It's still a great competition. It's still something we love, but you realize how important fans are in those games. I watched Portugal, France last week. That would be a game in Lisbon that the stadium would have 80,000 people. And to watch a Portugal-France final game, or such an important game to decide who would go to the Final Four with zero fans, was very, very weird. So I'm still adapting to these competitions without fans.
It's funny because one of the things that I take from talking to all the footballers just in different leagues and MLS and other ones is most of their like favorite stories of a football event centers around the fans somehow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I still talk about when I was with the assistant coach in Montreal and we got knocked out 5-2 at Santos Laguna in 2009. And it was probably the most heartbreaking game I was ever involved in as one of the coaches. And getting knocked out in the last goal in the last second when you're almost about to reach the semifinal of Champions League, when you're a USL club. But the thing that I kept from that game was when they scored, the fans of Santos Laguna. It was us suffering, but I still have in my head the noise, the stadium almost shaking, even if it's something that it was a suffering moment for us. I still keep it as what a fan moment for them. And it's very hard to go through these competitions without that.
So I just want to end things off with a couple of fun questions. What's your favorite food?
My wife cooks very well,
Lucky.
giving credit to her. I'm very lucky. So I don't know. I would tell you my favorite cuisine would probably be the Italian one.
Yeah.
But to say that I have a dish that I long for, no, I don't.
I had
The
a nice
Italian cuisine would be my favorite one.
I had a nice dry wine chorizo pasta last night. So
Oh, here you go. That's
uh,
great.
what were some of the things you did down in Portland or Orlando to kill time? Like Netflix binger, or did you bring
You know,
books?
I watched one Netflix show in 2 months. One I watched Getting Away with Murder, something like that, based on a real event in the United States. But I never had time. I never had time from uh, training to games to preparing video sessions, meeting with the staff. One of the things I did the most was probably play pool with against part of the staff guys. Then we didn't really go out because of the riots. It wasn't fun to walk outside, and we had a curfew. So look, based on that, it's just good to be back home and in a normal life, because in Portland was pretty much only soccer.
I'm glad that you're done your quarantine on Monday and you can get back to doing some normal things too,
Yeah.
to some extent.
I'm glad to.
So, lastly, Marc, what's one message you'd give to fans and supporters for next season?
I can give a message for next season because right now the message I'm giving them is what we're doing now. We know very well what are the areas that need improvement, the areas that we want to become stronger, give a plus to the team. And the message is that we're like I said, I use the word obsessed because it's really that. It's night and day, looking at games, dealing with agents, asking questions, looking at players, and always with the objective of what is the group that's going to bring us to the next step in 2021. That's what we're doing right now.
That's good to hear. Well, thank you very much for joining me today, Marc.
Thank you very much, Josh.
Have a great day. All right, so that was Vancouver Whitecaps head coach Marc Dos Santos. I hope you guys enjoyed that interview. A little bit longer than I would have liked, but I'm not going to tell Marc that it's time to go, especially when we're talking some Portuguese football. So very happy to hear that he is Ronaldo over Messi. And yeah, obsessively scouting is what I got out of that one. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. We got some more great Whitecap stuff coming next week with Ranko Veselinovic. And also Eric Smith is going to drop by and break down the crazy free NBA free agency that's happening. So as always, make sure you like and subscribe. Hit the big blue join button. Follow me on Twitter at Joshua Griffith0. And as always, thanks for watching the Unnamed Sports Show here on the Sports Talkline Network, where we talk sports 24/7, 365. I have been your host, Joshua Griffith. And remember to love sports, all sports.